No, there's no way. There's no way, bro. So this is from the Guardian News. Now, what are they guarding? In fact, this might be surprising. The news. They don't want you to get it. Where's the audio?
Including, say, if there was Afrikaner
Trump was asked a question about his unsubstantiated white genocide claims.
Genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective.
Let me see the articles, please, if you would. And excuse me.
Trump then, there's the word, ambushed Ramaphosa with footage he said was evidence for his claims. So, white genocide or white extension or white replacement theory is a national conspiracy theory that claims that there's a deliberate plot to cause the extinction of white people. So, this is what they're doing is they're painting with a deliberately broad brush, because there is a conspiracy theory of the replacement theory that exists, but that doesn't mean that there are not instances of anti-white racism that exist also. So this conspiracy theory is something that is contextualized inside of America and Western societies. So you can't apply the white genocide conspiracy theory propaganda, white supremacist thing whenever you're talking about it with another country. It is contextualized around it being a conversation that's being had inside of Western culture. That's the difference. It's a straw man. It's dishonest. Yeah, exactly. And this is what the media does. Yeah, that only works when it's in a white majority country. They don't even know the racism. Yeah, they don't even understand that they don't. This is that people don't understand how to be racist anymore. It's embarrassing. I'm doing my best to try to teach them, but it's going to be it's a long road ahead. Sorry, but genocide is a different definition, man. Sure. I'm not going to argue with you about the name.
We turn the lights down. Turn the lights down. And just put this on. It's right behind you, Johan.
The footage showed a montage of clips. Are we going to see Chibi Reviews? Thanks for 10 subs. I appreciate that. Including former South African President Jacob Zuma and the far-left opposition Julius Malema. Yep. Thank you, Chibi. I appreciate that, man. I hope you're doing well. After the footage was aired, Cyril pushed back against Trump's remarks.
How does it get worse? And these are people that are officials, and they're saying that kill the white farmer and take their land. That's what it is. And I have other friends in South Africa. I have people that left. One in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land. They take your land and they kill you. It's okay, and they say it's okay to do. Now we're going to talk about it. But this is a tremendous look. This is a story recent. These are all people that recently got killed.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it can get any worse.
Let me clarify that.
Yeah, please.
Let me clarify that, because what you saw, the speeches that were being made, one, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy.
Yes, it is. Because it's against the law to say that stuff, but they're not in jail. It's against your laws. But you're letting them say it. It's just, which law? The law for advocating and inciting violence. South Africa has that.
Democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies, and in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party.
25%.
Which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No, 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 no.
Do allow them to take land.
Nobody can
and then
take
when
land.
they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No, there is
Nothing happens to
There
them.
is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people.
Oh, man. Man, it's really sad. 25% is huge. Yeah, it's a lot of people, right? It definitely is. And it's really crazy. And search on a Twitter flashback, President of South Africa say he'll take away land without compensation. I don't know about that in general. And you can see, obviously, people are completely rejecting this. Nobody is in favor of this. Everybody hates it. And I'm very happy about this. I'm extremely happy about it. Hopefully this continues to be the case. And bullshit like this basically just keeps dying. I think this is what's going to happen in general. And so it's okay to kill white people because blacks also get killed? Well, of course, right? And they're just trying to downplay it and act like it's not a big deal because it makes them look bad because they're letting it happen. Oh, God. Oh, this is it here.
Won't open from this side.
Okay.
Yamish, good to see you.
Hi, good. Thanks for taking the question.
Sure.
The president showed a video that he said showed more than 1,000 burial sites of white South Africans that he said were murdered. We know that was not true and that the video wasn't showing that. So I wonder, why did the president choose to show that?
What's not true, Yamish?
It's not true that the video was showing a burial site. It is unsubstantiated that that's the case.
No, it is true that video showed the crosses that represent...
And so this is the funny thing, is that it is technically not a burial site. The crosses are put up there as a, like, for example, they're buried somewhere else, but the crosses are put up as a memorial. So they're trying to say that Trump was lying because they weren't actually buried there. It was just a memorial. I'm serious. Like, you listen to this again.
It's not true that the video was showing a burial site. It is unsubstantiated that that's the case.
No, it is true that video showed the crosses that represent...
Which is what the president claimed.
It wasn't a burial site.
The video showed images of crosses in South Africa about white farmers who have been killed and politically persecuted because of the color of their skin.
The president
and those
claimed
crosses
that
are
it was showing
representing their
burial.
lives. Those crosses are representing their lives in the fact that they are now dead and their government did nothing about it.
If I could get
Are you
my question.
disputing that there's no...
Disputing the fact that the video showed what the president claimed it showed, because it did not show that. But even more, what I'm asking you is who at the
No, it
White
did
House...
show that. It showed white crosses representing people who have perished because of racial persecution.
Verifies the videos that the president shows, and what protocols are in place when there's unsubstantiated information
What verifies it? Well, unsubstantiated information.
being put out for the world and world leaders?
Where is the unsubstantiated information? This reporter's dog shit? Well, I want you guys to see kind of, and this is the way that a lot of media behaves, and this is how you have to be aware of it, is that they use really, like, one of the reasons why the mainstream media is so effective and has been so effective for so long is because most people do not have a strong grasp over the English language. And so these types of rhetorical devices and, you know, like vocabulary changes and just different like little tricks people play with their words actually fool a lot of people because they don't have that, like the semantics, right? The semantics fool a lot of people.
What's unsubstantiated about the video? The video shows crosses that represent the dead bodies of people who were racially persecuted by their government. In fact,
and by the way, she's approaching this in the right way. You don't engage with a dishonest framing that's based off of a deliberate misunderstanding. Because her point of contention is a deliberate misunderstanding that's done intentionally to try to make it look bad. Some crazy shit, yes. Never play into that game.
Associated Press, of all places, has a picture of that very monument, and the caption from the Associated Press is, "Each cross marks a white farmer who has been killed in a farm murder." So it is substantiated,
site, but it's
not just by that video and the physical evidence that
She's actually arguing because it's not a burial site that the president was wrong and he shouldn't have shown it. That's right. Yep.
everybody saw on display in the Oval Office, but also by another outlet in this room, the Associated Press. So you should take it up with them if you believe the claim is unsubstantiated. And that's a ridiculous line of questioning. John, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Carolyn. The big, beautiful bill now goes to the Senate.
Does, yes.
A lot of the Republican senators have promised amendments that will water this thing down dramatically. What is the president's...
This is some other bullshit.
Negotiations will cause them to take off significant money from their Social Security.
Yeah, I just wanted to see that one right there. I just wanted you guys to see the that's the level of dishonesty that people like this engage in. That's it. That's it. Trump did describe the video as being a burial site. However, it still doesn't minimize the underlying issue. So this is the problem that people like you have, is that you think that you can play these small semantics games and that anybody is going to care. It doesn't matter whether the bodies were buried there or not. The idea and the word burial site means effectively the same thing. You are focused on the literal meaning of the words because you want to avoid the implication of the words. That's what you're doing. You don't care about using proper language. You don't care about any of that. The only thing that you care about is reframing it in a way that makes it look like he said something that was wrong. That's what you're doing. It's obvious this is what you're doing. Like, this type of dishonest behavior is so annoying to me. He agrees with you? No, he doesn't. What people like this do, and the thing is that I didn't say anything wrong. You misunderstood? No, I don't misunderstand. A lot of other people do because they don't understand I don't think people are picking up on the manipulation that's going on. So what's being discussed here, and the way that this is being approached, is that President Trump referred to this area as a burial site. It's not a burial site, but it's a representation of a burial site. This is an irrelevant distinction that causes the White House to capitulate and for them to use a soundbite and say that Trump was technically wrong. It doesn't serve any other goal other than to score semantics points and to undervalue something in a way that's dishonest. That's what's happening. They're intentionally trying to minimize the situation by creating a hyper-specific example where a word does not mean the exact specific thing. And I understand, and the problem is that, again, you're not going to trick me with this kind of stuff because I am the master of lying. I've made videos about how to lie to people. I understand this better than any of these people do. That's why I do what I do. That's why, by the way, so many people watch this. I can tell this instantly. I was doing this when I was a little kid. Are you lying now? Yes. Okay, dude. No, I'm just telling you. Like, it's very, very obvious when it's happening. It's gotcha media. Yes, it is. He did agree, though. Explain. No, the fixation on that agreement is a intentional obfuscation in order to undermine what's being discussed. That's what's happening. That's what they're doing. Yeah, it's disingenuous. Yeah, I mean, like, I can see through this instantly. Like, really. I mean, I don't know what to say. Or he's just very literal. No, people like this are not very literal. They're literal when it's beneficial, and they're figurative when it's beneficial. It's not about being literal or figurative. It's about using something as an advantage based off of what your viewpoint is.
All right, folks, brace yourselves because this is a big deal. Last night, Donald Trump engaged in an act of brazen and unprecedented financial corruption, and we have bombshell leaked footage of that event. And when you take that footage and combine it with recent public remarks by Trump Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, well, it's a recipe for disaster. Trump and Leavitt may have just totally screwed themselves with massive legal implications that won't be covered by the disastrous Trump presidential immunity decision. This is huge. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we got a few clips to look at here, but I want to remind you of what Trump Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt just said within the past 48 hours.
Sure. On the president's dinner tonight, will the White House commit to making a list of the attendees public so people can see who's paying for that kind of access to the president?
Well, as you know, Garrett, this question has been raised with the president. I have also addressed the dinner tonight. The president is attending it in his personal time. It is not a White House dinner. It's not taking place here at the White House. But certainly I can raise that question and try to get you an answer for it.
Okay. And
Sure.
So, in other words, the president of the United States is engaging in this crypto dinner, right? And as we've discussed, this is the top 220 purchasers of Trump's cryptocurrency, his meme coin, got to enjoy a private dinner with Trump. And so the reporter asked a fair question. Okay, well, shouldn't you disclose the identities of these people, particularly since many of them are foreign influencers, so that the American people can see who they are in the interest of public transparency and accountability? And effectively, what Carolyn Leavitt says is that this is being done in Trump's off time. It's not a White House. It's not being done at the White House. It's being done in his private capacity. It's a private event. So they feel that they're not obligated to release the identities. Again, it's a total bullshit excuse, but that's what they had. We have leaked footage of that event, and I want you to see it and see if you catch something which totally cuts against everything Carolyn Leavitt just said.
Did you get to see the helicopters?
Yeah, super cool.
Good seeing you. Covered up pretty good. I don't see a lot of window here. How do you like this location? Pretty good.
Nice.
So it's okay if you missed it, but right there, that podium has the presidential seal of the United States. That is an official podium in which Donald Trump is speaking, and the symbol of his office, the presidency of the United States, is on full display. In other words, Donald Trump is using official accoutrement and seal and symbology of his official public office at this private event, totally undercutting what Carolyn Leavitt says. Now she has even less of an excuse not to provide the transparency that the American people are seeking. And it goes beyond that as well. But let's get into this first. As Mediaite reports, leaked videos show Trump using official seal at private crypto dinner. Leaked videos on social media show Donald Trump using the official presidential seal at his crypto investors gala, despite White House claims it was strictly a private event. The president's schedule Thursday contained an opaque entry that read 7 p.m. The president attends a private dinner, Trump National Golf Club, closed press. The occasion was a gala dinner for the top 220 purchasers of Trump's $Trump meme coin, a scheme that critics from across the political spectrum have nuked as a corrupt enrichment scam. And again, I want to remind you, those criticisms are perfectly valid no matter who they're coming from. But to the extent that, Trump supporters and the Trump curious say, oh, you have Trump derangement syndrome, you have TDS, prominent conservative Trump supporters, including Ben Shapiro, who voted for Trump, campaigned for Trump, donated to Trump, has publicly supported Trump, has called this out. This is a bipartisan criticism from the relatively few principled conservatives left, okay? So let's get back to this. The winners were not publicly disclosed, and the event was closed to the press. Hours before the event, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt defended the dinner and the secrecy surrounding it, insisting it was purely a private event and telling reporters he's attending it in his personal time. It's not a White House dinner. It's not taking place here at the White House. But several videos leaked on social media by attendees show Trump speaking at the dinner, at least one of which featured the official seal. One clip, posted by top $Trump meme coin investor and multi-billionaire Justin Sun, shows Trump speaking next to the presidential seal. And we're going to be talking about him quite a bit. And again, you see it?
What a nice place. Did you get to see
Presidential seal that Trump will be speaking at and near. Okay? Now, in another clip posted by Sun, Items like gold watches are awarded to the attendees. Attendee and crypto entrepreneur Sierra Sun posted a clip of Trump speaking behind a different seal that resembles the presidential seal, but the video doesn't clearly show the details. And he goes on like this. So Trump is using the symbology of the presidential seal and other things which mimic it at this private event that they're using as a predicate to not share information about with the American people. And what's interesting about that is lawyers have noted, including George Conway, we'll get to him in a minute, not only does this expose the lie of Carolyn Leavitt, the obviously transparent lie, which we knew, but I mean, it just strips that fig leaf away. It also carries major legal implications for Trump moving forward. As Barbara Comstock notes, since they made it clear this was personal, presidential immunity does not apply to any of the possible alleged corruption. Yikes. George Conway also said the same thing. Actually, it's fine. If Trump's saying he's doing something in his personal time, then obviously that means he's not acting within what the Supreme Court calls the outer perimeter of his official responsibility, which in turn means he's not immune from criminal prosecution. Ouch. So you may recall in the disastrous Trump presidential immunity decision, the Supreme Court created whole cloth 3 spheres presidential immunity. Total immunity for core constitutional functions, which apparently includes communicating with his Justice Department, even if those communications are ordering his Justice Department to engage in bogus bullshit investigations of his political opponents. The Supreme Court says you can't touch it. Totally stupid, ridiculous, defies the spirit of the Constitution. There's no constitutional letter in the Constitution which supports that sort of immunity, but they did it to protect Trump, and that's apparently the Supreme Court's assessment of the situation. So absolute immunity for core constitutional functions. And then the second bucket is presumptive immunity for official duties, for official exercise of power. So it's not absolute, but it's presumed immune, and people who want to charge a sitting president, or excuse me, I can't charge a sitting president, but a former president, would have to show that this is not an official capacity, this is not an official duty. That's a hard bar to clear, because they also say that by doing so, you have to show that it in no way would infringe upon the executive prerogative, right? Basically, that's not going to negatively impact the executive in any way. I don't know how you could possibly clear that. That's the second bucket. But the third bucket is personal actions, and they say no immunity whatsoever. So what Donald Trump may have done, what Carolyn Leavitt and Donald Trump may have done, is create the circumstances by which Trump could be investigated and prosecuted by a subsequent administration for this act of corruption, because he was doing it in his private capacity. So apparently we have nothing to worry about, right? He can't claim that he's doing it in his official duties. Now, the presidential seal strongly suggests that he thinks that somehow this is tied to his official duties. I don't know how you'd make that case either. So it seems like, at least on the merits, at least on the logic, he's checkmated no matter what, and happens to make himself and Carolyn Leavitt look like a total ass in comparison. Now, I'll also just point out, just a quick a fact post thread here, breaking down the dinner. Tonight, that was yesterday. Yesterday, Donald Trump hosted a dinner for the top 220 purchasers of his crypto coin, many of whom are reportedly based overseas. Foreign entities are buying Trump's influence and personally enriching him in an act of blatant corruption. The 200-plus attendees bought a combined $394 million of Trump's crypto coin. The top 7 winners each spent more than $10 million on $ Trump, earning them tickets for Trump's crypto dinner. The average winner spent nearly $1.8 million on entry to Trump's crypto dinner. A majority of Trump's meme coin buyers appear to be foreign nationals, including Justin Sun, a Chinese crypto billionaire who bought over $18 million of Trump's coin starting in January. In February, the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, suddenly paused its fraud case against Sun. So Sun was under investigation by the SEC for fraud. In January, he buys Trump's coin. In February, Trump's SEC pauses the case. Seems like blatant fucking corruption, doesn't it? The average Trump coin buyer spent 500 times the individual contribution limit for federal elections. Carolyn Leavitt claims Trump is attending this dinner in his personal time and that it's not a White House dinner. U.S. presidents don't get to pick and choose when they follow ethics norms. When asked how this dinner is not Trump using the presidency to enrich himself, Leavitt argues that Trump was reelected because he was a successful businessman, so apparently he can just do whatever the fuck he wants. They're not even bothering. Folks, that's what I'm saying. I want you to think about this. To the extent that she offers any sort of excuse, it's done in his private time, so I don't need to share it with you. Sure, he's still the president of the United States. He doesn't resign from the presidency to conduct this crypto dinner and then pick the powers of the presidency back up. He's still president, and he's still using the official seals and symbology and accoutrement of the presidency. I guess we'll ignore that. But that's when they even bother to come up with an excuse, and it's a weak fig leaf of an excuse. It's contradicted by Trump himself. But set that aside. Other times, they don't even bother with an excuse. Oh, listen, he's for the American people. He puts the American people first. He's a successful businessman. People knew that. As if that excuses, that means that Trump can't possibly be corrupt. And any act of corruption by Trump is apparently excusable because he was a successful businessman. Total bullshit. And we know these losers, these unprincipled, hypocritical losers, would be rightly apoplectic if President Biden, President Obama, President Clinton, or some Democrat engaged in this level of corruption. They'd be rightly furious. But because it's Trump, they're holding their powder. They're just absolutely holding their excuses or their condemnation. They're refusing to condemn it. It's disgusting. It really is. But this could have major legal implications for Trump once he leaves office. And quite frankly, Democrats and Democratic presidential candidates need to keep that in mind, because one thing that we absolutely should not do is let this go. If and when we ever have a Democratic administration and there's no statute of limitations preventing the prosecution of Trump, Trump should absolutely be ruthlessly investigated, and not by some pansy like Merrick Garland, but by an actual Democratic or liberal Rottweiler in the Attorney General's office, like a liberal version of Pam Bondi. The only way that Trump and MAGA will ever understand that this corruption can't be tolerated is if that sort of corruption is ruthlessly punished. And it wasn't under President Biden, and it needs to be moving forward. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.
There was a thing, like I said, in the 1800s and early 1900s amongst German private school boys. So the Dead Poet Society of Germans called Menser, M-E-N-S-U-R, Menser.
That's where smart people in Appalachia study.
Yeah,
Manser.
Down there at Menser. Yeah. My uncle got into Menser, he told me. Trey, you gonna join Menser? What's up, airheads? Welcome back. It's time once again for your favorite show from two silly boys about silly fancy people and stuff and that whole thing. It's called Putting on Airs. This is we're here in the virtual Airstream studio. I'm Che and that's Cordy over there. We're coming to you. It's just a family style episode this week. Hope you enjoyed Allie last week, and we will have more guests for you in the future. But this one is just the two of us. And we know that hits for you just fine as well. How you doing over there, Cho?
I'm good. And speaking of Allie, I did want to give you a little, it related to him.
All right, folks, brace yourselves, because this is a big deal. Last night, Donald Trump engaged in
There was a thing, like I said, in the 1800s and early 1900s amongst German private school boys. So the Dead Poet Society of Germans called Menser, M-E-N-S-U-R, Menser.
That's where smart people in Appalachia study.
Yeah,
Manser.
Down there at Menser. Yeah. My uncle got into Menser, he told me. Trey, you gonna join Menser? What's up, airheads? Welcome back. It's time once again for your favorite show from two silly boys about silly fancy people and stuff and that whole thing. It's called Putting on Airs. This is we're here in the virtual Airstream studio. I'm Che and that's Cordy over there. We're coming to you. It's just a family style episode this week. Hope you enjoyed Allie last week, and we will have more guests for you in the future. But this one is just the two of us. And we know that hits for you just fine as well. How you doing over there, Cho?
I'm good. And speaking of Allie, I did want to give you a little, it related to him, sort of a update for our fans. So, we talked a lot of shit, and some of our fans already know Rocky Dale Davis, but some of them probably just learned about him because we talked some shit about him last week with Allie, right? Well, I don't know if I told you this, but I texted Rocky immediately afterwards.
I did too. What's funny about this is I texted Rocky during the episode, and all I said was, buddy, me and Corey need you to come do our show, is all I said.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that implies, oh, you came up and we love you and you want you to come on. That's all I said. I was like, hey, man, me and Corey really want you to do our show. And by the way, he's not going to do it. We can talk about that more in a minute. But anyway,
I can't wait.
Compare that to what you said.
I said, me and Trey and Ali Sadiq trashed your ass for about 20 minutes straight on putting on airs this week.
And see, I didn't mention any of that. And I knew that I had also texted him. So when I found out you texted him that, I was like, well, I wonder how that played. Because me and you both texted him within an hour of each other out of the clear blue sky. And you say, we just got done trashing you for 30 minutes. And I was just like, brother, we love you. We want you to come on. And it's like,
I think we said the same thing,
definitely makes me, I mean, I wouldn't care at all to tell him that we trashed you. I just didn't. So I felt like it made me look like, duplicitous in retrospect.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Well, here's what I think the fans deserve to know what Rocky's response to me was. As soon as I sent it, I immediately see the 3 dots. So I'm like, oh, here we go, buddy. Here we go. I've got him. Because Rocky and me are very similar in that if you get us riled, it's easy to get us riled up and then we show out and do some shit. So I see the 3 dots and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, this is going to be awesome. He immediately sends me an almost naked picture of him in the mirror looking shredded as fuck and goes, yeah, so I don't really do cardio, just more or less get my steps in and count my calories. Got my DEXA done, 17.9% body fat, going to go down to 14% so I can have full visible abs. It's not that hard, just doing it slow so I don't lose any muscle. That's it. That was it.
Which again, I feel like there's an added implication there of like, hey, make sure you show that other doughy piece of shit Trey this as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably.
Like you didn't even bring up anything about fitness or physique or nothing. You were just like, yeah, we just trashed you for 20 minutes. He's like, here's me looking shredded, fat boy. Except he didn't even need to say that part. It's just, again, the message
it's implied.
Was
it's the implication.
Clear. Yes,
very clear. It's I hit, you don't hit. Yeah.
Right. No, you said how riled up he could be, dude. He's from Alabama and he's a huge Alabama fan. I'm a huge Tennessee fan. For most of the modern era, they've really had our number. But in recent years, we've gotten a couple over on them. And to me, I would think that like the 20 plus years of indomitable like ass whoopings from them on us would like soften the blow of some of these or whatever. Like you'd think that, but every time it happens, I send a shit talking message to Rocky, and it's like it doesn't matter that they beat us 21 times in a row or whatever. When I send him a message of me and like a Vols hat smoking a cigar or whatever, it's like, how's your Saturday going or whatever. Like he gets apoplectic. Like he's like it's the fucking fuck that fucking picture, fuck you, fuck everything you've ever done, fuck it. Like he just loses his mind. But then though, because of how he is,
he'll just straight up hang up on me.
Well, and then like hours later or the next day or whatever, he'll send me a follow-up message that says something like, just so you know, man, I think you're like a real good dad and everything, and he's like, I respect you, buddy, or whatever, But
I know I went hard,
right, but it's like, no, I know that's why I sent it to you, but yeah, no, I'll just tell you and all the fans because I'm sure they're clamoring for an appearance from Rocky now. This is so him. Also, I said, dude, me and Corey, you need to do our podcast, and he just goes, oh, I quit doing podcasts last year. And I was like, what? Just because they're stupid? And he was like, no, I'm just trying to lay low. Just lay low, put out. He's like, lay low, put out stand-up clips, and just tour. And it's like, well, those two things feel counterproductive to me. It's like you need to lay high if you're.
I swear on my life,
if you're touring and stuff like that. But he's, I thought the same thing. I was like, if this motherfucker starts popping up on like hitting your podcasts and stuff, like, definitely going to give it to him. But he immediately was like, I just don't do podcasts anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to think he's the only comedian I could think of that I could see landing on this sort of philosophical decision. You know what I mean? Out of nowhere, it's just like.
I'm for it, by the way. Good for him. That's great.
No, I told him I genuinely do respect it because it's like it's just taken for granted. If you're a comedian, you're gonna have to do podcasts. So any comic who isn't movie star famous comic who's like, and even them, dude, they get sent on press tours and shit to promote their new movies and stuff. They're told
that's kind of why Daniel Tosh always hit for me because he refused to do late night or anything.
Even the biggest ones, they're told by their studio heads or their publishers when they got a book or something. They're like, no, you gonna go do podcasts, motherfucker.
Right.
And they do it. So anybody that's like, is kind of a working comic like we are, who's like, nah, I just ain't doing it. I do respect that, but I also think it's funny, though.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious because it's also him implying that he's better than us. Again.
Yeah, that too. Also, it's like, I don't know how this sounds to people. I hope they like the way this sounds, but I genuinely like doing them. Also, is what's funny to me about it.
Oh, I do too. Yeah,
like I enjoy.
I've definitely
podcasts,
overserved myself.
Yeah,
like has said yes to too many, and then
great. But
it's not even that. It's just I'll just say yes, and then it's like fuck, I had a thing to do or whatever. But like I also like them. I like talking. You know what I mean? About myself. And when you're a guest, you get to talk about yourself. It's awesome.
Right.
It's great.
But so
nipple.
We'll wrap it up on the Rocky talk since y'all have never met him. But I kind of like establishing a sort of like somewhat mysterious, like ancillary to the Skewniverse character. Kind of like what was Nigel's wife's name? And Nigel. What fucking David Hyde Pierce?
Norm.
No, David Hyde Pierce.
Vera.
Frasier.
Vera. No, not Vera. That's Norm's wife. Mira. Maris.
Right.
It was Maris. It was.
But also,
Maris.
what's David Hyde Pierce's name?
Niles.
Niles. I said Nigel.
Yeah.
I knew Nigel was wrong. Niles Crane.
Yeah.
Yes.
He gives Nigel.
Right. He very much gives Nigel. He's serving Nigel.
He's serving Niles though very hard too.
Very hard. Yeah. Oh, dude. He's an all-time.
He's unbelievable in that show. By the way,
it's incredible.
Like obviously Kelsey Grammer is
great.
There's
a famous episode of Frasier where
hold on.
Opening,
don't let me. Yes, the opening, closing the doors when they're in the cabin.
No, that too. I know what you're talking about with that one, and that one also really hits. But this one is just David Hyde Pierce's Niles. I don't know why the fuck I keep saying Niles. It's him trying to get like a shirt ironed and all this physical comedy with an ironing board and an iron and a shirt, and there's no he don't say nothing.
Nope.
He just walks out there. Keep in mind, he did this live in front of an actual audience and everything too, live on. And he could have done it.
And I've heard about this. There was no directions given really in the script.
Right.
They were just like,
and
make this.
It goes on for a while, and he never speaks. And it's just pure physical comedy, like straight out of vaudeville or something. But on
exactly
network
vaudeville.
TV in the '90s, and he's just killing it. And when you consider he's that, in addition to being this like erudite, sophisticated type of funny guy, which we've talked before. That's part of why that show is so special, I think, is because unlike in England, we don't really do that very often.
Yeah.
Like it stands out here. Like I was just talking to Caleb about signing our buddy about this past weekend we were together in Vegas, and like about the whole thing that I brought up on the show multiple times before about how in England comics are allowed and encouraged to be smart and smarter than their audience. And in America, we don't cotton to all that because it's like, well, you think you're better than me, motherfucker? Right. So when shows like Frasier and people like Kelsey Grammer and David Hyde Pierce or whatever pull that off and appeal to middle America and everything, and they hit for everybody, like while being that type of comedic archetype, I just love that shit. That's part of the reason I always loved Dennis Miller too, man.
Kelsey. I agree. Kelsey Grammer and David Hyde Pierce and the show Frasier overall, like they are sort of like the Tom Petty of what they did in the sense of like I know people respect them and appreciate how awesome and stuff they are, but I don't think it'll be until a death that they really get their due because and I saw David Hyde Pierce in an interview talking about that scene in particular, and he was literally talking about like watching the Three Stooges and stuff and watching Abbott and Costello and stuff like that, and how that informed a lot of that. You know what I mean? But it's unbelievable. That cabin episode I'm talking about when they keep opening doors and stuff, it's
the ski resort or whatever.
Even if you don't ever want to watch all of Frasier, just go watch that one episode because I maintain it's top 5 television episodes of all time. It's unbelievable because it's a play. I mean, it's a stage play that they've just done as a multicam sitcom. Like
one of 22 in a season. One of 22 in one season out of 10 or however many they did, and they created.
They definitely did 22.
Yeah.
They definitely did.
No. I one of 22 in however many seasons. 10 years or however many.
I think it was 10
how many seasons it was. But,
it was 10, and frankly, they were kind of like Seinfeld in the sense of like when they quit, they didn't have to. Like they were still rocking. Like I watched all of them. Like it wasn't because, in my opinion at least, it wasn't because like the quality fell off and it was like let's go. It's like no, that show was pretty much hitting on all cylinders at all times. And I mean, just what a fucking actor both of them are. But David Hyde Pierce,
incredible. So just to close this off, because I know sometimes we will start to say a thing, digress, and then never get back to it. And if I was listening, it would drive me crazy. I was just going to, since y'all haven't met Rocky and presumably never will, Corey and I met him years and years ago when he was like, he had just started doing stand-up comedy, but had already been on a fucking CMT reality show called Redneck Island.
Yep.
Right. So have you seen Love Island and all those? But this is like a precursor 15 years ago. Redneck Island. He was on that when he was like 22. Gets off of that, starts doing stand-up, and was just this like, ripped 23-year-old fucking trailer baby from Alabama who, like spoke our language in so many ways, but also was so different at the same time. And it's like you talked to Allie about, was just like, even though he had just come off of absolute, like some of the trashiest of trash TV straight into the comedy club, was still immediately then like, oh, I'm the fucking shit, buddy. Like, no, just.
Okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, and then
in a
way
it was very endearing. So I
loved it.
That's who Rocky is. So you guys should check him out because you'll never see him on a podcast apparently until someone who hits comes calling. Then I'm sure he'll do it.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad that Fraser shit came up because it's related to a thing I wanted to show.
Me too. Go good.
Because I was talking about how. Again, over there, comedians are allowed to be smart, and they had this whole. And we got an airmail once from someone who, I think a Brit, who was saying, it's like, yeah, well, the thing is, that's tied inherently to all of our years of like class division and posh people and upper crust society, and like how class works in the UK, where it's like generations old. People over there come from old fancy, right?
Oh God, yeah.
And to this day, and it goes back to like, dude, fucking, we don't have no Middle Ages here unless you're Indian. But over there, like in the Middle Ages,
you consider now them,
there was fucking, peasants and lords,
a caste system,
and we've talked a ton about it, about how like everybody was, and there was no.
Let's stop for a moment.
Are you cold?
Yes.
I don't really want to turn it off, but I will.
I can leave.
No, maybe it's fine. Hide that one for now. Shit's not down there, so I jump down there.
Okay, so you're playing on the TV?
Yes.
What's on this screen?
I am streaming to Twitch from the PlayStation, and that is my Twitch stream.
He's just standing there.
Well, yeah, because it's delayed, and then I'm streaming to YouTube me playing this, and I was watching that.
I understand what you have to do.
I had a camera that the PlayStation would recognize. I could just have a camera plugged into it and sitting here. That was what I was trying to do with this camera. Was plug it into the PlayStation instead of there, but that way my FaceCam reacts to the game cam. And then I can make a playlist of things that I want to continue playing while I'm doing that I want to react to. And this is my chat for Twitch. I'm trying to direct everybody that goes there to go to YouTube instead. So I have dropped the YouTube link into the chat.
Ford went down hard. He's sleeping restlessly. I don't think he's gonna stay down for a full nap.
In my Streamlabs, I name each of my cameras different. So I have news cam for what's playing on this screen. My face cam is right there in that corner. And the game cam is the whole screen. Is the whole benefit screen.
I can't hardly see anything on your laptop. It's too small. You know, I was thinking about that the other day. We could get a magnifier for your laptop screen and make it a little bigger. They're not expensive.
I mean, basically look at everything on these two screens.
I kind of figured that.
And I use this for chat and editing and things like that. Now, it would be nice if when we get the money to upgrade all of this shit, get me a tower and shit, I get a desk that has like two shelves that are a level high, so I can place those two screens up and then get that badass fucking round screen, and that can be my main display.
Like $3,000 upgrade. When are we gonna have a $3,000 upgrade budget?
I can get people to start donating to me on YouTube.
Drown.
But yeah, that's what I would like to do. Because then I would have the main big screen right here, and I could put all of my technical things, editing and things, in these two screens. I lost a viewer.
You can stop playing. Can they hear it?
Probably. Like a little bit in the background.
Okay. Because I keep noticing when I talk, it's registering me too. How dare it? I'm not supposed to be on this feed.
I'll go back and listen to the YouTube video later, and I'll see how well the mic picks up.
Yeah, well, I ain't trying to be on there, but if I am, oh well.
Oh gee, a disembodied voice coming from the ether.
bet there's somebody out there who's enjoying listening to us talk about.
Well, the more they left. The only other person that I'm pretty sure it's registering me as watching.
Oh,
but I could be wrong because
talking to ourselves.
I could be wrong because, like, I'm pretty sure I'm using my. I know I'm logged into my Twitch account on here. I'm pretty sure I'm using my like stream manager on this screen as well. I mean, I figured just the more and more I play with this and just do it, and just whatever I randomly put out, will at least get me like used to how all of it works.
Yeah, well, that's how I figure things out by playing with it.
Plus, I still haven't paid any money for the pro version of Editor. I saw a video earlier that said that the paid version of that Google Veo 3 AI is like $250.
Okay.
And then you're able to make AI generated video of people talking.
Oh. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Wish I had 250. No. Tell my sister about it.
And I'm pretty sure that you can run pictures through it as well and put people's faces in there so we could make like AI videos of us doing like really stupid things.
We could write a jackass down the grand stand.
With Trump's face on it.
While throwing up repeatedly. You want to add Trump's face to it? Failed skydives. You should have to die over and over. Crashing into all kinds of cool shit.
Feed at uh the final President Snow scene in the fucking last movie, and then fucking put Trump's face on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or tell it to fucking.
You good?
Yeah.
I should try to get downstairs.
I don't know.
I'll even make it across the living room. Cooler being stated in, sometimes it wakes him up. And then I gotta stop and I gotta wait. And he doesn't usually go back to sleep when that happens. Be very, very quiet. Hunting toddlers.
Discussion about if you were a peasant, you knew your goddamn place.
Yeah.
You knew you were lesser than these lords and shit. And
my father cleaned shit and his father before him cleaned shit.
Right.
You know?
And that's why I'm, Johnny Shit Cleaner, because they all used to have last names that were just what they did. But Johnny Toiletman. But
it's a good change.
Yeah. But they but like it's just so deeply ingrained over there that even to this day, there's kind of this inherently understood, like if you're sort of a posh or fancier, more intelligent person in the UK, it would never occur to you,
right,
to like hide all that or whatever. Whereas over here,
our country was ostensibly founded on we're all equal,
right? Exactly, and they've never had those delusions over there, and I just think that I've always found it fascinating. But I found this clip though. About how we've also talked a lot about how like just the way they talk and the way it sounds, and it just sounds fancier and
lovely,
all that shit. So this one I think is fascinating because this is a clip of fucking Boris Johnson, and y'all know we don't do politics on this show. But
don't count if it's
Boris Johnson, as I've always understood, was brief for a shining moment in time. There was like UK's Trump, right?
Right. He seemed it.
He did seem it. On that note, let me show you. If you're only listening, I'm sorry. I'll show you a couple of pictures of Boris Johnson that were very popular in his heyday. Right, that gives you an idea of the type of guy that he was. So like this is. Nice. Now look, here's the thing. So if you guys are only listening, he's out. Corey, you describe this picture of him.
Okay, I will do that. Here we have a what I would say is an oddly shaped man, but trying his best, wearing what looks like swimming trunks instead of running shorts.
Right, which I would have thought they don't. I'm surprised to hear they even have swimming trunks in the UK. You know what I mean?
I agree. You think they're all just banana hammocking it up. You know what I mean?
I just assume that in the UK, in Italy, yeah, banana hammocks. But to me in the UK, it's like they don't even get enough sun or water that isn't at the bottom of a sheer cliff. To even go swimming in, but they do very much look like board shorts.
But we're not done here because he's actually got a living manifestation of this show as an outfit, sort of, because the bottom half is super trash. It's like flowery swim trunks that you would wear to a lake and just a regular old pair of running shoes and legs wider than the bottom of a pontoon boat, or I'd say Larry Bird white.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I mean pasty.
Cottage cheese white.
Cottage cheese ass white. But then up top, he's wearing a collared shirt to run in.
Seems to be a polo, out for a jog in a polo shirt.
Covered by a very nice zipped linen-ish or some sort of sweater, right?
Is that a fleece?
It's a fleece. Yeah, I think it is like a fleece.
See, this is why I wanted you to do this, because you actually know what clothes are called, and I don't.
That's a fleece. That's a fleece, but it's not a pullover. It's a zipped.
Right. Which he's got like a zipped fleece. Like I don't think it is a North Face, but it looks like a sort of light brownish North Face over a like golf shirt polo.
And we're not done. He's wearing Winnie the Pooh shirt as a hat.
Winnie the Pooh shirt as a hat, and again. He's out for a run. So it's like the combination of factors that come together to make you put... Also,
headphones, oddly, it looks like they're both over his hat and under his hat. I can't really... There's a lot here.
There's a whole lot here. And he always looks like this. Let me show you what I think is my favorite, still image of Boris Johnson, also from his tenure. As the PM over there.
I used to think that meant 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
When someone when I was a kid.
Yeah, I didn't know. I think when I was a kid,
I got tenure, I was like, that's
they've been here for 10 years. I think I thought that too when I was a kid. That's, I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think this actually, I've probably shown this picture on POA before, but if I have, it's been a long time. This is, I think, my all-time favorite picture of Bojo, as they call him, Boris Johnson. Bojo, from his time as PM. This one.
Oh, fantastic.
Right.
Leave it off. Come on now. What's this tosser up to here, Trey?
He's on it appears to be like a zip line, but he's not zipping anywhere. He's he's just dangling like tea bag style from a zip line in front of a Ferris wheel,
which seems a bit on accident.
Right, like did he get stuck there?
That's
like,
what I think. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna hold these flags up," you know.
Right. So, and that's the other thing. He's holding two Union Jacks. That's what they're called, right?
Yep.
Union Jacks.
To my knowledge, their flag is called the Union Jack.
Right.
Yes.
2 Union Jacks. Britain's flag, holding 2 of them with a he
looked like a toddler.
He looks very much like a toddler. He's got like a blue hard hat on that's shifted too far forward on his head, and he's in this elaborate harness that's really hugging all the wrong parts of him. And underneath, he showed up in an actual politician's 3-piece suit.
Yes.
And if you look at the high water, pants down here, how they're hiked up, with the scrunched up socks underneath them and everything.
He looks like a little boy at a wedding that had to be a groomsman for the stepdad.
That's exactly what it looks like, right? And again, he was the Prime Minister of England when this happened, so he was known for this type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So to me, as an American, I was always this is their fucking bumbling oafish Trump equivalent, right, in the UK, right? And I think that was his general sort of reputation and aura, right?
Yeah.
Here's the point. Finally, years later, we arrive at it.
I can guess.
I found this clip of him on Instagram talking, and this is what I was related to what I was saying about the Brit. Even in England, even their goofy dumbasses, right?
Yeah.
Will still do some shit like this. So this is a clip.
It's gonna be him eating a pickle with a knife.
Tell me if you can't hear it. If you can, just let it ride. Here it is.
They have no questions
want to
to
scrutinise?
put to
Are you
you.
saying they're abdicating their duty to scrutinise me? Are you saying they haven't the guts to put questions to me? Great supine protoplasmic invertebrate jellies.
They have no
Great supine protoplasmic invertebrate jellies, right? Again, their version of Trump, one of the most publicly dumb motherfuckers they had over there, off the dome when talking about some, craven cowardice who was facing from the opposing political side, pops off with great supine protoplasmic invertebrate jellies.
Right.
And it's like, you just would never ever see that. Imagine fucking Nancy
Our
Mace.
smartest people don't talk like that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let alone imagine fucking Matt Gaetz or Marjorie Taylor Greene or any of these people, fucking, or a Kardashian or whoever. Imagine something like that coming out of one of their mouths, and it's like, it just wouldn't happen, dude.
No.
This dude was like a village idiot politically there for a while also running the country. But again, that was the style at the time.
That was the style at the time. It's coming back.
Still is in this country.
Still is. Used to be too. I'm glad you brought that up because so I texted you the other day. You didn't text me back. It's fine. I then texted you 900 other things, so it's really not your fault. You responded. Yeah, it's not your fault.
Interesting to hear where this is going because
I asked you if you had watched the OG British version of House of Cards, right?
Oh yeah.
But
I have not.
But then, dude, I railed off like a bunch of shit. And I think you were on a plane. I get it. I'm a lot. Hey, everybody, I'm a lot. Anyways, the reason I wanted to ask you was A, I wanted to talk about it just overall, but B, it was a lot of this. Whereas I was telling my mom, it's like the one British show that I watched before my mom, that I've got her on. Because dude, it don't matter. I can find the most obscure British television and be like, oh, I got her on this one. And she'll be like, yeah, watched it 3 years ago. Whatever. That's her shit. Dude, she got BritBox, Acorn, all that stuff, which, I mean, me too, but she's in it. And my mama, she's retired and now the kids are out of the house. Buddy, if she tells you I'm about to start a show and that bitch got 8 seasons, you better be ready to hear about all 8 seasons 2 days later.
So let me ask you this,
especially
Corey.
over there.
Let me ask you this about your mother, who I've known for years and I love dearly. How does she feel about intellectuals in this country? Do you know what I mean? People in positions of power that have present as smart and have expertise and things like that. Does that generally hit for her?
No.
Right.
I'd say that don't hit for her. Right. But I'd say that no, tantamount to buggery, I believe, as she feels about that.
But over there, it's fine.
Over there, it's fine.
Right.
And it is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Somehow.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about the House of Cards. And by the way, rules.
Right.
Like, it rules. I mean, it obviously it does, or they wouldn't have done a new version. Well, sometimes that happens, but like it's so awesome. And the first season of it is, very much the same storyline of the first season of House of Cards. It's 4 episodes and they're only an hour long, so it's obviously truncated, or actually that wasn't truncated. Over here we had to make it longer, right? Like a lot of the same beats. You can see that there's some of them are different names, but you can see like, oh, that was the this character, the Corey Stoll character that was it. But my point is, the one thing that not takes me out of it, but it's hard, is like they will present, like, remember in the Ochi House of Cards, Corey Stoll was presented, as like a moron that had to be taken out or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so he would say moronic stuff, right? And I totally bought it. And the guy that they have, he's ostensibly saying moronic stuff, but he's such a cheeky Brit that I'm like, he don't seem that dumb. You know what I mean? Like, it's harder for them to pull it off. Like, I just have to get, like, I know that he's, if I listen to what he means by what he says, I go, okay, a bit daft, but as I'm hearing it, it just doesn't play as much because they all seem a little smart to me,
Right. Almost all. I know exactly what you mean. I agree completely. I've thought about this my whole life. I've been fascinated by this because and I used to have a stand-up bit that got into this a little bit about how, like, we as Americans, and me too, that's what we think. We think of them that way, right?
Yeah.
We don't.
And this is a show of nothing but them in politics.
Dude, but when one of them is dumb, like rock dumb, it's like, great. It's crazy. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, what, mate? I'll bash you ready to swear me bum. Like they're just like
that Cockney accent, dude. I mean, I can, and maybe it's because me and you are so like media literate.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've watched a lot of shows and movies where we've seen and know that that's what that accent means. Maybe it's easier for us to go, oh, that's the dumbass right there. And by the way, I'm not saying everybody with that accent's dumb. Look at us.
That's how we are. What I mean? I know. Far be it from us. I know, but that's like it's like the modern day equivalent of that. Like we talk about them all the time. Like peasants who are also they're sort of, no, I need me the cabbage, me lord. Don't take me the cabbage. Like
whenever
they sound real dumb.
They do. And whenever Monty Python, whenever any of them are portraying a peasant, that's the accent they use. You know what I mean? Like none of them have that. Like most of them have like the Manchester accent, I think, or whatever.
No,
like
it's the RP, right? Is what they call it. Received pronunciation.
Okay,
sure. That's the like fancy British.
Because they all went to fucking Cambridge.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And I actually listened to. I've been on a big Monty Python kick lately. Not that I'm ever not really, like I'm always a few weeks away or removed from having watched either The Holy Grail or Life of Brian.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't get me wrong, the other ones hit for me. They're just not as in heavy of rotation.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Those two are definitely Holy Grail, pinnacle for sure, and then Life of Brian. I'd say a bit of a gap. Life of Brian.
It's not as big of a gap as I used to think.
Another gap, and actually, you might be right. I should revisit it. Yeah, right.
No, you need to watch Life of Brian.
More. I mean, I've seen Life of Brian, but I definitely would appreciate more the kind of subject matter of Life of Brian.
I think because I grew up in the church, it makes more sense. It hits harder for me than it was.
I know that Life of Brian has one of my all-time favorite Monty Python scenes. At least I hope I'm not wrong. I mixed up fucking Apocalypse Now and Full Metal Jacket on here, and I've never forgotten it. But that's the one with the Romans, right? When they're meeting and they're talking about the Romans or whatever. And it's like, what have the Romans ever done for us? It's like, the aqueducts?
The aqueducts.
It's like, oh, okay, all right, aqueducts, sure, obviously. Okay.
And it's Cleese saying this, right?
Like, but aside from the aqueducts, what have the Romans ever done for us? They're like, the roads. It's like, the roads, the aqueducts, right? And then that just goes on
forever.
For
they're in like a
minutes.
Little.
They just keep right.
They're on like bleachers when they're doing it. It's Life of Brian.
Yes, right.
It's
awesome.
Great. It's so fucking good. But I've been on a kick of them because I listened to I can't remember what it's called. It was very short. Cleese put out a book. Honestly, it was only an hour audiobook, so more like a pamphlet, really. But it was about the creative process or whatever. And he was talking about having met those dudes at Cambridge, and that he didn't get into it because he was interested in comedy. because they had like a theater troupe, they were doing comedy, but he didn't go, oh, I've always wanted to do comedy, I'm gonna join. He specifically joined because he said they were the only people at Cambridge that didn't take themselves entirely too seriously. That was his whole reason. He was like, these guys seem all right, they're not up their own fucking ass.
Fully relate to so
Me
hard.
too. And
I think that most people that end up being comedians have a like very, very deep seated like aversion to people and things that take themselves super seriously.
Yes.
To our detriment sometimes.
Absolutely.
Like there's some things that, you should take seriously. And we just can't take almost anything fucking seriously.
Dude, 100%. Like when I feel myself taking something very seriously or taking myself seriously on a thing, I'll go, God damn it, back it up a little bit. Even though I'm like, no, you should. But like, I'm like, no, you can't. You mustn't. You're the cynic in me.
Right,
We're too cynical.
Let me ask you about this, though. I hope this hits for people. It's a little bit inside baseball, but they're all going to know what I'm talking about. You're talking about like actors and theater kids and stuff.
Yeah.
I found like stand-ups, a lot of times, myself included, really bristle at a lot of the shit that like.
Faster, we'd still have a republic. The Empire, the Haxian brood, half the galaxy wants us dead.
Yes. The odds are against us. But they will always be against us. Cal, you can't fight your way out of some situations.
Actors do because it's like they take all that very, very seriously and they'll do some sort of like soundless exercise where they're embodying a fucking slug on a ground, and then they'll stand up and they'll just like hoot like an owl for a while.
They do that. Yeah, that's a thing.
They're like, woo, woo, woo. They just do all this wacky shit that like it's because they, for my mind, it's because it's like guys, to me it's like this. Y'all really think that like this all is necessary? It's like just play. It feels like they're taking it too seriously. But the flip side of that is, almost objectively speaking, that's me taking myself too seriously to do some goofy ass shit they're like letting go.
And that's all acting. That's not all acting is, but like
you know what I mean?
You can't be afraid. Yeah.
So it's like. That's one of the ways that it can kind of like fuck you up. It's like, it seems like they're taking it so seriously, but at the same time,
they're
it's
not.
like they've let go of being goofy. Or I'm sure you've seen the famous clip of Benedict Cumberbatch being Smaug from
murdering it.
The Hobbit. He's got on the mocap things. He's crawling around the ground,
acting his ass off, boy.
And it's like, imagine the self-assurance it takes. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine seeing me do that. Right.
Did you see that interview with Harrison Ford during Captain America: Brave New World? That's basically about this. This guy goes. This guy's interviewing him, and he goes. I wish I had it pulled up. I just saw it the other day. This guy's interviewing him. He goes, okay, and Harrison Ford was cool with it, and this guy was awesome. The interviewer was actually awesome. He's like, okay, well, so like, I just want to know how did you deal with like the fact that while you were playing the Red Hulk, you had to look entirely ridiculous? Like you had to look insane while you were doing that. You know what I mean? With all the mocap and stuff. He's like, how do you deal with something like that? And Harrison Ford goes, I don't mean to burst your bubble here, but that's what the money's for.
Right.
He's like, he goes, so the money that makes all of that go away, and he goes, poof, gone. He's like, I feel nothing about it. He's like, that's what the money's for, so that you'll do the silly thing and not give a shit. You know what I mean?
I think you still got to have something. Don't get me wrong. If you were writing me a check for $10 million to do some wild ass shit like that, of course I would be like, hell yeah, absolutely. And I would be like committed to it, but I would still feel I'm certain Harrison
Ford tells his actual friends that he felt ridiculous doing it, but he's so cool in interviews that he's going to keep it real. Which, by the way, I love that answer because it's very in line with what Michael Caine said when they asked, like, "Why the fuck would you do? Why would you do Jaws 3?" He goes, "I haven't seen the movie, but I have seen the house it bought me in France." You know,
yeah, right. Now, he says specifically, he goes, "Never seen the film. I understand it's quite terrible, but I have seen the house it paid for. And it's terrific.
Yeah. And so that's the opposite. I love it when an actor is going, it's all, who gives a shit? Like, it's all play, it's all fun, whatever. But that really is like, because I think I heard it in an interview not long ago where somebody was talking about an acting school and it was British people, and they would go, "Did you play chickens?" And they were like, "Of course we played chickens." And then I'm like, "Wait, what?" And they explained it, and it was what you're talking about, where like someone would go like, "Okay, you're a bird, you got to act like a bird." And it's like, it's stupid, but they were explaining it, and they were like, well, it's just like, I mean, if you can be a bird, you can probably be Jackie Kennedy, you know what I mean? And it was that whole thing. They go like, when you're an actor, sometimes you're gonna have like you just can't be afraid to go for it, you know.
Right.
And
you
like,
have to
it's not always gonna work, and it's not always gonna work. But you can't be embarrassed to try, because there's how many things we probably would have never seen if some of these people were too embarrassed to give it a go.
Yeah, no, I mean it actually
that,
makes all the sense in the fucking world.
Like that, you were talking about, and I'm gonna say it, and just understand that I'm quoting, because it's this Sopranos thing that I sent you the other day, where there was a James Gandolfini's in and they're talking about Vito or whatever, and Melfi goes, he's talking about him being gay or whatever, and Melfi's like, well, what's the problem? And he goes, he's a fag. Right. Like, he gives this insane line reading. Well, like, he don't know that line reading's going to work. You know what I mean? And it's a very silly way of doing it. He don't know that the director's not going to go, yeah, James, could you maybe tone it down on the making there's so many syllables in the F slur? But he went for it, and it worked. You know what I mean? And we don't know what he went for that didn't work. You know what I mean? And so there's just all these little moments that, unless the actor was free to just go, fuck it, I'm just going to go for it, we might not have. Al Pacino in Heat. Very comfortable man.
Very.
She's got a great ass, and you got your head all the way up it. Yeah. And then he fucking does this shit. You know that Hank Azaria's face is real?
Right.
Like, that's his real reaction.
He's like, what the fuck?
What the fuck is this?
I'm sure people have seen this also, but like, what I like about, amongst many things, what I like about that infamous, iconic scene from Heat is that, like, and you did it when you acted it out, but like, if you watch it, you can tell that he starts to say,
he's gonna say big.
Like, you could see him start to say, she got a, and I guess in his head he was like, that's not enough.
That ain't it.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that ended up, so you could see him switch gears in the middle of it. Like, start to go, but then stop and go, great ass. Like, it's,
And you know what? That's what humans do. We do that all the time. Regular people do that all the time, where we go to say, that's how we end up making two words combined into one on accident. Like, they're welcome, because we're trying to say thank you, but I'm Porky Pig in it. We mean to say thank you, but we accidentally say you're welcome. Like they're welcome, whatever. And I think, dude, it's one of the most, it's silly, of course, and I'm sure but that movie fucking rocks dick, dude, and he rocks in it, and I love it.
Yeah, no, I
mean, they left it in.
Speaking, I guess, about odd to us customs, it's a terrible segue. There's nothing I want to tell you about it. It feels so Raven of the people in question. This is a tradition from the German upper crust in like the 1800s and early 1900s.
Boy, I bet they got one of the most foul upper crusts it is.
Right. So, having said that, there, you know how in like old movies and shit, and still sometimes now, they'll have like a Nazi officer who's a little bit older than the enlisted men, and also he's higher up the ladder, and they'll have like scars on their face
every time.
Right. Okay. Right. So my whole life, I never questioned that at all. It's like, yeah, they're villains and they're badass villains. It's like, what do? You put a scar on the face, right?
Of course.
It's just what you do.
Aldo Rain has a rope burn around his neck.
And it makes sense. But with those Nazi characters in particular, it's actually a very concrete reason why they did that, like why they put them like that, because it's based on reality. Because there was a thing, like I said, in the 1800s and early 1900s amongst like German private school boys, so like the Dead Poet Society of Germans or whatever, except like colleges and shit, called Mensur, M-E-N-S-U-R, Mensur.
That's where smart people in Appalachia study.
Yeah,
Mensur.
down there at Mensur. Yeah, My uncle got into Manser, he told me. Trey, you gonna join Manser? Hilarious.
That's so stupid.
Thank you for that, Corey.
You're welcome.
Because I was sitting here trying to think what to say about it, and that's perfect. Yeah.
I'm so happy right now.
I always wanted to be a Manser when I was a boy.
In Manser. He's up there in Manser.
He's down there at Manser.
That's where Goodwill went.
Yeah.
Up there in Manser.
Okay.
God, Jesus. I'm
Manser-
sorry to everybody who hates stupid puns, but
No, I'm thrilled by that. I'm very glad you did it. So, like, elite fraternities at the equivalent of German Ivy Leagues and that type of thing in boarding schools and shit. Two boys would get together and stand opposite each other with like swords, like fencing swords or whatever, right? For like a duel, but it wasn't really a duel. Like it was just a display of masculine honor, right? Like
breaking knuckles, busting knucks.
Kind of like that, yes. So it's like it's not like fencing where it's like you go back and forth.
Somebody
and
gonna win.
Try to stop the other one. All you do, it's like yes. What's it called? What is that? Is it called bloody knuckles or what's the
bloody knuckles or busting knuckles? It's both.
There was another one too. There was another stupid game that we used to where you just punch each other in the arm, like not even.
Yeah. See
like
which one, see who can take it or whatever.
There was a name for that too, and I can't remember.
We had one. I think I've told you about this. We only did it one time, but me and my buddy William made it up. It was called meat cleavers.
Yeah, I think you told me about this, and I found it very disturbing. Go ahead.
Yeah, we called it meat cleavers, and here's the reason why: is that so we had a meat cleaver, right?
Yeah,
you're familiar.
Makes sense.
And so we would try to. The gimmick was you try to just barely cut the person, like swing as hard as you can, but just barely cut the person. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And so what I did was almost cut his arm off, and he had to go to the hospital.
Well,
yeah, he had to go to the hospital.
What you don't realize, Corey, is that you were channeling the German aristocracy of the previous century, because that's kind of exactly what they did, only it wasn't with a meat cleaver. It was with a rapier or some kind
of
one of those fancy swords, and it wasn't on their arm; it was on their face.
So I'm not as dumb as everybody said.
Right. So they would stand there opposite each other and take turns going through a series of cuts. Right. The point being that you're very much going out of your way to not permanently, to not like seriously injure or certainly kill anybody while still hitting them in the face. And the most important part was being the person on the receiving end. The whole thing was you don't, flinch like a little pussy when the sword comes at your face.
Right.
You don't, you just stand there and take it. You don't flinch at all. And you just take a Joker cut to the mouth without responding whatsoever. And, that was how you sort of won, was by not flinching, and that's how you got the
respect
and the honor. And so for years in Germany, amongst the German higher class men, having big Mincer scars, which were called the Schmiss, having a big Schmiss, right?
Dude.
Which is ironic to me because it sounds like
What's your waking up now?
Okay. I'll be in there in a minute.
someone making fun of how bad they missed your face.
Right.
And a schmiss.
And a schmiss.
It's the opposite. They hit you. But yeah, the scar's called a schmiss, and having a big schmiss for years was like a badge of honor. All these guys were like
Do you think people faked it?
Huh?
You think some people faked it?
Ooh, that's a good question.
You can just cut your face?
I feel like the only way to fake it right is to cut your own face, don't you think?
Of course.
I honestly kind of feel like I would rather have my face cut by someone than cut my own face. Do you think that's crazy?
Oh, absolutely. I'm just saying, do you think, I don't know,
I'm not saying I wouldn't flinch. I definitely would flinch. Just saying that,
I'm with you. It's kind of like how, it's the opposite of how you can't tickle yourself, I guess. It's the opposite of that. But I could, dude, if I had to give myself a shot, I would just never do it.
Me too.
I'll
tell you what it's like. I'll tell you what I think it's like. It's like people that are new to jumping out of airplanes, skydiving and shit.
Yeah.
you'll just stand there and won't do it. But
Yeah.
So if someone else pushes you,
Yeah.
then you go and you're like, it feels to me like a similar
You're
type
grateful.
thing to that. I'd rather have somebody.
Well, dude,
cut
I'll tell
my
you one
face than
thing.
Cut my own face.
I have a list in my head already of all the people that called me and William stupid for playing meat cleavers, and I can't wait to share this information with them and have a boombox over my head playing "Vindicated" by Dashboard Confessional.
Right,
whilst
because if
doing
anyone has been historically vindicated and revered,
it's the
German upper crust of the early 1900s. I think everyone agrees that they were really on top of it and made practically no mistakes.
Hitler didn't come from
culturally.
the upper crust, you know.
Right, but yeah, I'm just saying. I hear you. I definitely, I get what you mean.
It would hit for all these people I'm talking about.
I get what you mean entirely. But the whole reason I brought this up for my end was kind of being like, man, ain't it wild how rich people be sometimes? Because to me,
and how dumb people used to be, and it seems smart.
To me, this is kind of another example of like, it seems like rich people often like invent thrills or hardships. You know,
they've never been through
because they don't have any.
Yeah.
And this feels like a kind of an old timey version of that. You know what I mean? It's like they, you know, so it just, I think that it's insane.
There's somebody
but it does, you know, if you just did it out of nowhere, finding out years later that fucking like, you know, I don't know, Goebbels and people in his fraternity did that shit.
Not as dumb.
You're like, oh, okay, we hit them. Thanks, Goebbels.
Yeah, called it meat cleavers, which, by the way, better than schmission. You know, I think.
Mincer.
Mincer, yeah. Well, no, yeah, I do feel good about it. And by the way, you know, and everybody was mad at me, but like, can't believe you did that to William. I was like, he's about to do it to me. You know what I mean? Like, you stole from my kin, who was about to betray us. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't know that at the time.
Will, like, being like, yeah, no, you can go first. Like, that's one of the dumber teenagery parts of that whole fucking story.
Absolutely.